When I go to a foreclosure, the reason why I was getting a lot more than I think a lot of my competition was that I tried to give them the ability to solve their problem on their own, which people do not want to do very often, right? What do you think we're doing when we call someone though? Like, let's look at like a higher level business here real quick. Like, what are we doing when actually is happening? So I want you to get in the habit of thinking perception, you to them and them to you. So the number one reason people win in business, obviously, is they think of time, not money. And the number two reason they win in business is they think, what's the other person thinking, not what I'm thinking, right? So you need to think about from their perspective. And we'll kind of just also keep little notes here. When are you going to call them? Are you going to call them at 9 p.m., 9 a.m., noon, Sunday mornings when they're at church? So also think about time, because what we're doing is we're interrupting people, right? So just know your objection or your hurdle that you're first starting out with is you're calling a stranger and you're interrupting their day. So think about the time of the day that you can call them, right? Now, people are used to getting cold called. Now, the way that I learned how to kind of handle calls is I study calls. So I want you to get in the habit of, if an insurance agent calls you or somebody calls you that's a salesperson, don't just hang up and just be like, oh my gosh, like this guy's so annoying, interrupts my day. What do? I test these people. I'm trying to educate myself, because what if you call me from an insurance sales and you may be the best salesman in the history of Earth, and if I spent 3 minutes with you trying to poke you around, seeing how I make it hard for them, right? I act like I'm interested, but like I'm giving them opportunity to sell me. I want to see how they give their objections, how they keep me on the phone call, because you have about 60 seconds to keep someone's attention before they try to get you off the phone call. So just know that that's our main hurdle in cold calling, is we are interrupting their day and we have a short time to buy a long time. So you have the first maybe 15 to 30 seconds to buy the next 60 seconds to 3 minutes, and in that next couple minute window to give you the full attention. Because if you can get past the small first level, that next small level, you'll have probably as much time as you want with them. So I would start out by saying something about pointing out problems, right? So think about how I would actually have how a YouTube video or a movie or anything is created. I'd have an outline of how you create the call. So what do you do with the YouTube video? Like, what's the most successful outline that's probably ever been done? Problem first. We bring up the problem. Hey, Susan, I was just giving you a call and I just wanted to let you know I'm kind of actually in your area today. My business has been kind of centrally in your area and we've been doing a lot. And I saw you have a house that kind of meets the criteria of a lot of our buyers are looking at, but I do see that you have the house listed. Now, I don't know kind of where you're at and your goals with this property, but I'd love to have a conversation with you, right? So their perception is this. Other agents have called them to try to get the listing, and they're doing the same thing people are doing with the insurance call. They're just getting it down or throwing them off, right? So what I'm trying to do is just point out a couple pain points, like, hey, I'm in your area and I just wanted to let you know that we're doing a lot unique things right now, and I want to have a conversation to you about your house, right? The market's turned, and a lot of homeowners I've talked to recently, even ones like yourself that have sold houses on their own traditionally in the past, realize that this is not the same market that we've been in, and this may be a time for them to look at working with not just an agent, but one that has the capability of actually doing this transaction in this market and getting it done and having your results hit quickly, essentially, right? So what you're pointing out is, for example, like my dad, he's a proud man, right? He doesn't want to admit he can't sell his own house, right? So you have to give him an out, right? And so the way that we teach him any lessons, like if I was to teach you to not make you feel bad on something, I say, hey, look, Joey, back when I made the same mistake that you did, here's what I did to get around. So I'm basically saying, there's nothing wrong with you. I did this too. You're not failing. I did this too. Everybody does too. So by the homeowner, right, you're telling them they're failing, essentially through the psychological process. Now, this is why that most of them do end up listing with an agent, but this is what we're trying to get past, if that makes sense. Hey, look, it used to be in this market, man, Joey, anybody could sell a house in a fraction of a second. You knew this. This may even be why you're trying to sell a house right now, as you heard how hot it was. But as you saw in the news, the Feds jumped interest rates, and now it's kind of moving toward market where it's taken kind of a professional touch. Now, you may still be able to help it. I could probably sell it on your own. I could actually come over here and kind of give you some more information on the market and actually give you a couple tips that may help you sell the property on your own. And then for some reason, if you don't sell it on your own, then I could come in, and if it makes sense at that moment, I could come help you, right? So instead of pressuring and saying, give it to me now, let me say, how can I help you with your problem? So like with foreclosure leads, when I go to a foreclosure, the reason why I was getting a lot more than I think a lot of my competition was that I tried to give them the ability to solve their problem on their own, which people do not want to do very often, right? So Joe, here I can give you 3 different things. There are going to be a lot of time, money, and stress and headaches and all these working parts, but you can go definitely handle it on your own and solve it on your own. I'm giving you the way to solve this problem on your own, but it's a lot of problems, the stress. They don't want to deal with it. So they are grateful that you gave them that option. It brings the know, like, and trust factor. And if they go do it, you help that person out, but they're not. They're going to be like, you know what? Oh man, it's like, do I really want to go and freaking find whatever goes in this, the sugar, and cut it out of the fields and process it and find out how to put it in a can. No, it makes no sense, right? But I'll tell you how to go do this. Here's a list of all the things you can do to solve your own problem and create your own Red Bull, or create a lens, or I can just have a professional company make it for you and you can just have it done for you, right? So I'd come in from an angle, which is guard their belief in themselves that they're not failing. It doesn't really matter what word you have, just as long as you kind of hit these points. Remember that they're doing it to avoid a commission. Many of them could be proud, not always. Many of them just kind of thought they could put it up there and sell itself, right? But if you get someone that you feel thought they were doing it because they could do it, just know that you're going to have ego. Ego issues are very big in business because people will literally lose money to feel like they were in the principal spot or they were the right one, if that makes sense. So I would phrase it in a way, it's like, hey, look, I have a lot of buyers working in this area. So what I would do is I would tie one, proximity, meaning I'm in this area a lot. This is kind of my area, meaning I'm an expert in there. This is what they're going to read between lines. So I'm in your area, which is why I'm calling you. So it's not just like, hey, you're on there, so I'm calling every person. There's a specific reason why I'm calling you, right? And then what's happening in the marketplace right now, you've probably seen over the past few years, it's been so easy. For sale by owners have been flying off the market. You can see all the statistics out there. But as you know, that last year, what happened was the Fed started jumping interest rates and it's kind of created a tough market. If you go on Zillow, Mr. John or whatever, I'd even pull up their address while you're on there, sometimes ahead of time, and say, look, in this kind of area that you're in, you can see that this house right here has been reduced. This one's been reduced too. And so what I do is I come in here and I like to help you guys know all your options, what you can solve on your own, what I can do as far as a listing agent. I could potentially tell you how I could bring a buyer. And to be honest, maybe even if you wanted to, I could work some type of offer out with you because I am an investor as well. So my job, Mr. Homeowner, is to come in and give you every option that I know could be done for your property and then let you choose what works best for you and your family. But that makes sense for me to come by because everybody else is trying to press them. And so I'm giving them options. And by being the one that's giving them options, by being the one that's not saying, hey, you're failing, you need to work with me, I'm saying, here's the options for you to continue on solving your own problem, because they're not, if that makes sense. You are trying to set yourself up and build a pipeline, at least with this type of lead, that when they realize towel gets thrown in, I can't, you want to be the one they call. So you start thinking not how to get theirs right now, but how in 2, 3, 4 weeks, once the pain picks up, once they can't, that you're the one they call. So also I'd frame in there, something, just kind of put in there like a potential competition question. It's like, hey, do you have a family member working with agents or anything like that? Like just something like, hey, do you have someone that you're working with already if you did not end up trying to sell the house on your own? Like if you decide, do you have like a friend or family member or someone really close that would already be selling it? That way you're guarding your time and you can just kind of get to the next one quickly. So you're guarding your time on the front end and on the back end, and you'll get way better at this. As you start to do your practice reps, you'll kind of know which ones to kind of get out quickly to save time to get to more, and which ones make sense to kind of build up your overcoming objections and shifting of attention to conversion type of stuff.